Hello, I'm Joshua Harris, the Public Information Officer for the City of Morganton. I recently sat down with Morganton Mayor Ronnie Thompson to talk a little bit about who he is, his involvement in the community, and his goals for Morganton. I hope you enjoy the interview.
Tell me about yourself.
I was born at the Old Grace Hospital in Morganton, grew up in Valdese, graduated from Valdese High School, went to Chapel Hill, got my degree in economics, and worked in the family business for some time in Valdese.
Okay.
Tell me about your family and how you met your wife.
Am married.
Okay.
Was working in Valdese, decided to take a photography class and went to Western Piedmont Community College, met my wife there. And as we were processing photos, I noticed she had lots of pictures of kids. And I was hoping not all those kids were hers, but I realized she was taking friends' kids and her kids. And I finally got up the nerve to ask her out. We went out, and she was a much better photographer than me, so I let her continue to do the photography. We got married in 1977, and I bought a house in Morganton, moved she and the kids in, and then I moved in. One of the funny stories about moving in, when they were small, they said all their prayers at night, and they said, "Now I lay me down to sleep," the whole basic verse, and then they would say, "God bless Mom and Dad, and Hammy and Sammy and Snowball and all the family pets." And finally, after we'd been married about 3 months, I said, "Girls, you know, Hammy, Sammy, and Snowball, they've been dead about 3 years. I need, and you know, it'd be God bless Mom and Dad, Hammy, Sammy, and Snowball, and God bless Ronnie at the end." And finally, I asked them to move me up ahead of the 3 dead hamsters. So it worked out real good. They're twin girls. One lives in Morganton, one lives in Hickory. So they're close.
So how long have you been living in Morganton now?
I moved to Morganton when I got married in 1977. Okay. So right. It's been about 38, 39 years.
So you attended UNC Chapel Hill and earned a degree in economics. How did you go from economics to real estate, and where did you stop on the way?
Okay. I started after college in a craft cooperative started by Blue Ridge Community Action, which covered at least 2 counties. I helped these folks market their handmade quilts, their handmade toys in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. And my job was to do the marketing and make this craft cooperative self-sufficient. After that, I did that for several years, then went to work for the state for about 8 years. And finally, the family business, the real estate business, Mom and Dad called and said it was getting more than they could handle, and they asked me to come work for them. So they started that business about 40-some years ago. I work there now with my brother and my sister. It's only about an 8-mile commute back to Valdese, so
Yep.
it really works out pretty. It was easier for me to do that than to try and move the business to Morganton.
Right. So, how long have you been with Thompson Real Estate? When did you start there?
I started in Thompson. I got licensed in 1975 in real estate, so I've had my license over 40 years. But really back into it about 1984, got back into the business full time.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about your civic community involvement and your work with Rotary.
Rotary is an international organization, and we do projects locally, statewide, and internationally, of course. At that time when I joined Rotary, you had to be asked to be a member. You couldn't just go sign up, you had to be asked. I remember my insurance agent called me. He was in the Valdese Rotary Club, said, "Let's go to lunch and you can see what Rotary does." So I went, decided it was service above self, which I really like. You provide service to other people, not just yourself. They elected me president a few years back, and then I became district governor. And as district governor, I had 51 clubs from Lake Norman all the way to Murphy. So that helped me see a lot of town, well, every town in western North Carolina, from Spruce Pine, Burnsville, Murphy, Hendersonville, Brevard, Pisgah Forest, Denver, Lake Norman. And so I got to see a lot of different communities, which really made me appreciate Morganton even more so, because we've got something here that I don't think any other town, at least in western North Carolina, has got. My first international trip was to El Salvador to visit a village that had been wiped out by a volcano in 2005. The folks were in their village, the volcano blew up, and they just had to completely leave everything, grab their shoes and run down the mountain. They were located in an old Army depot with dead batteries and waste from the Army, and this is the only land that was available to them, and that's where they ended up living, having to walk about 2 miles each way to carry water on their back just for drinking water. No public facilities, no sanitation. If you went to the bathroom, you just found a plot and did the business. So it was really tragic that these people were living like that. Our Rotary Club decided, along with Rotary International, to build a water line to the village from the Army Depot and set up a huge cistern, actually 5 cistern tanks that they actually use as a cooperative now. So they charge 5 cents a month for their water, and the villagers pay the water system, so they have their own water business. Not quite as extensive as Morganton City, but it's still their own water business. And we fixed it in case they ever have to leave that particular area. They can take these tanks with them and set up a new system somewhere else.
And when was this?
This was about in 2011, I guess. We went to El Salvador. It took a year to actually get the funding done. But it really made me feel good that these were people who could never have afforded to do it on their own, but Rotary clubs locally, district-wide, and international decided to help these folks. So it really was a great project.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
It really was.
In addition to Rotary, you were involved with Boy Scouts of America?
That is correct.
Okay. Tell me about that.
With the Boy Scouts, we have districts, the Table Rock District. I'm chairman of the Table Rock District for 2015. Hope to give up some of those responsibilities a little later because I've got city responsibilities now. So we recruit adults, recruit children into scouting. I was an Eagle Scout, got my Eagle Scout back in 1964 and went to the World's Fair as part of the Service Corps, which was really my exposure to national scouting. And so it's just a great organization. We run the scout camp for boys who can't afford it. We have scholarships to go to scout camp. And it really gives an activity. It's probably, beside the recreation department in this county, probably the largest youth organization in the county. Okay. We really touch scouts from 7, 8, and 9 years old all the way up until they're 18, and even explorers.
All right. And you've also been involved with the Chamber of Commerce, right, here in Burke County?
Was president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1995. I was president when we actually got liquor by the drink in the city of Morganton, which was a very emotional time for a lot of people. I don't think it's turned out as bad as some of the people thought it was going to. Some people had a fear and trepidation that there'd be a bar on every single street corner, but it's really turned out well, and it's made Morganton a real progressive city.
So are you happy with the recent vote to change the alcohol rules in Morganton?
I am, and it shows that Morganton is willing to work with businesses. This was an antiquated regulation in the law that says that some businesses couldn't operate to the full capacity. So by changing that and having the referendum by the citizens to vote on, the people got their wishes, and this business is allowed to expand and really prosper in the city of Morganton.
You also received the North Carolina Order of the Longleaf Pine, right?
That is correct.
Okay, tell me about that.
Gosh, back in the early 80s, I was selected to serve on the daycare commission.
Okay.
The statewide daycare commission.
All right.
Part of that duty was to try and come up with some kind of system to give ratings to the different daycare systems. If you had 5 kids, if you had 15 kids, if you had 50 kids.
Yeah.
How do you rate daycare systems? How do parents know what kind of quality of daycare they're going to get? So we came up with a star rating system. Actually, there were some death threats involved because people would say, "You're trying to put my grandma out of business. She keeps 2 kids, and you're trying to put her out of business by having this rating system." And that was not the intent at all. We wanted to make sure that people knew what kind of quality they were getting. So after months and years of work, we came up with the star rating system, which is still being used by the state. And the governor decided, after all the work I had done, that I should receive the Order of the Longleaf Pine, which is, of course, the highest civilian award in North Carolina.
And then I believe, was it the following year that you carried the Olympic torch?
I carried the Olympic torch, no, it was in '96.
Okay, all right.
I was selected to carry that because of all the volunteer work I had done with the Red Cross.
Okay.
There were 440 people nominated that year in Western North Carolina to carry and they could only pick 40
What year?
slots. 1996. It's the year the Olympics came to Atlanta. United Way was in charge of selecting the torch carriers, and the Red Cross submitted my name because I had given, at that time, probably 80 gallons of blood to the Red Cross, blood and platelets to the Red Cross. I ended up giving over 102 gallons of blood and platelets to the Red Cross, but I was one of the 40 chosen, and it was a real exciting and a thrill for me to be there, have my mom and dad there to watch me carry the torch. It was really exciting.
And did you say you got to keep that torch?
I did get to keep the torch. Actually, you got to buy your torch.
Okay.
United Way, you made a donation to the United Way, and they allowed you to keep the torch. And people ask, does it still work? No, they emptied all the gas out of it. It's a gas torch, and they emptied all the gas. I think, Josh, to keep me from setting my hair on fire. They wanted to make sure that we did. But I do have my torch, and it's a prize I really like to show off on occasion.
You're not new to local government, right? You previously served as a county commissioner.
I did get elected in 1988. We had an issue in the county where one of our trout streams, a stream, Henry River, was not going to be protected. The county commissioners decided at that time that they did not want to pass any regulation to protect that river. It was one of the key issues for me because and I've never been in the Henry River, never swam, never fished, but it's a clear crystal stream that need to be protected. The current county commissioners back then said they would not do anything to protect it. Citizens felt like it needed to be protected, so I ran on that issue, got elected, and served from 88 to 92. Was chairman of the county commissioners in 1992, which actually developed the new jail, the one that's listed on Government Drive. We helped develop that plan because our old jail at that time was really inadequate. So I did get to serve. We talked about zoning at that time, which is a real issue that you could get thrown out of office if you talk much about zoning people's property out in the county. But we started the land use management ordinance, which really sort of was the forefront for zoning in the county, which really sort of protected people's property.
Okay.
So it's been 21 years since you've been involved in local government. What have you been doing during that time?
Well, I had other activities going on. I was elected president of the North Carolina Association of Realtors in 2004. So I had that service statewide that I was trying to take care of and support my profession. At that time we had about 43,000 realtors, which was the largest trade association in North Carolina. So I felt like I had to lobby the local, state, and national level for real estate issues, how to protect people's private property rights, coastal area management, transfer taxes. We had all sorts of issues going on. So I really put my local government experience to work for my professional experience. And then served as the national director until 2012 for the National Association of Realtors. So then 2013 came along. I felt like I really needed to get involved in city government, and so ran for city council in 2013, and of course for mayor in 2015. So that gap in there away from government sort of helped me refocus on local government.
What prompted you to run for city council in 2013?
I had been concerned that we had city elections in October of odd-numbered years, and we had countywide elections in November of odd-numbered years. And I said, why do we have separate city elections from county elections? And it concerned me. I did some research and found out that we were spending up to $25,000 on a special city election. I said, that really is, in my opinion, a waste of taxpayers' money. So I ran on a platform that if I got elected, I would do my best to get it changed and have both elections together. People could just go vote one time, vote for their city officials if they lived in the city, and city and county officials. So that's the reason I decided to run. People liked that idea. I got elected, and with help from mayor and city council, we had a study and decided, yes, it was smart to do that. In 2015, the mayor had been saying for 8 years that this was his last 4 years. 4 years later, he said this was absolutely his last term. So for 2015, I decided, you know, he was not going to run for re-election, so I needed to go ahead and announce that I was going to be a candidate. So in January of 2015, I announced, and wanted to do some things such as the East Meeting Street project. We've got some deteriorated buildings, some abandoned buildings that need to be taken down. We have a beautiful downtown, beautiful downtown. Our staff and Sharon up there have done a great job making it look nice. People like to come, but they leave a beautiful downtown and go down East Meeting Street, and the last thing they see are some abandoned buildings, and that's just not good for the city. The people who live in that community should not have to live with dilapidated buildings. So that was one of the reasons I ran, and I felt like that people were ready for a change, and so that's some of the things we're looking at with me as mayor. One of the things I want to do is work on the bond referendum that we're getting ready to have. We need to get that bond referendum. It means so much to Morganton and Burke County. It really does. I think we need to reuse that Broughton Hospital property. If we can utilize it to the best economic development, then it really will change that side of town, the whole eastern side of town. It's the gateways you come in from the south and from the east, and people need to see just fantastic economic development going on before they even get to downtown. So that's one of my big projects, and staff and the other council members are willing to work on that. We'll get our proposal from the state in February of 2016, what the state's recommending, and then we will try and work with the state officials to really develop that for an economic development tool. The other position I want to do is to make sure our citizens, their identities protected. Got a lot of scams going on right now, and recently we had an identity protection seminar, which went over real well. The Attorney General came up, did it. It was free for people to go, and those people who are seniors, especially the seniors and their caregivers, are targeted by these identity theft people and scam artists. And if we can protect those individuals, you know, your economic, your well-being, your money is real critical. When you get scammed and lose $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, the financial burden is really tough. So I want to protect those folks, and that's a part of my job, to protect the welfare of our citizens.
So the state bond referendum contains more than $50 million for a western campus of the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. What impact do you think that'll have on Morganton and Burke County?
The School of Math and Science is going to be probably the biggest economic boon for Burke County and Morganton that we've ever seen. Both the staff coming, the kids coming, it has an online distance learning part of the school. It really will show the rest of the world that Morganton and Burke County has something special. Several states have a School of Science and Math. No state in this country has two schools of science and math. So North Carolina is going to be on the forefront. And when people in industry see that you have a School of Science and Math, they know that something special is in your community. So it's actually going to be a tremendous boon. That bond referendum also goes to take the old high-rise building and turn it into a National Guard training facility. That's going to be jobs. It's the old high-rise, and it's standing there vacated, and it'll be redeveloped and retrofitted for a training center that people will come from all over the southeast to use. So that's another thing, plus our parks are going to get some of that money. So the bond referendum is critical to the economic development of Morganton and Burke County.
And I believe Western Piedmont will get some
Western
funding,
Piedmont
right?
also gets some money that'll probably be used for physical facilities and upgrade. And that's the other thing with the School of Science and Math. We can actually use the School of Math and Science in conjunction with Western Piedmont Community College. We can tie it in with the deaf school also, so it really is going to let a lot of state agencies work together. And that's the key issue. We're just so blessed to have that on the ballot, and I hope everybody in March of 2016 will vote for that bond referendum. Doesn't cause the tax increase, and that's critical.
So you were the district governor for Rotary, and you visited about every town in western North Carolina, and you said that Morganton really stands out. What do you think makes Morganton so special?
We'll start with young people.
Okay.
We've got all sorts of recreational facilities for young people, from soccer, basketball, baseball, all sorts of activities like that. We have movie theaters downtown, not just one movie theater, but a whole collection of movie theaters that young people can go to. If they're adults, senior adults, we've got a senior center here every day which has 5 or 6 different things going on, from shuffleboard to the veterans meeting to cross stitch to bridge. So many activities going on at the senior center. So we've got the young people taken care of, and we've got the senior citizens taken care of in Morganton. For the middle-aged folks, I guess, those young professionals, we've got all sorts of restaurants they can go to. Their jobs are here, especially with the School of Math and Science and the state institutions we've got in here. So there are places to work, there's recreation and restaurants for them. We're getting another restaurant in downtown Morganton soon. And it really is a great place. If you want to walk around at night and just see the excitement in Morganton, it really is a special place.
Okay.
One of the special things about Morganton is we have a very active and committed deaf community. Oldest deaf school in the state of North Carolina, been here over 100 years. And it's a great community, and there's lots of deaf alumni and deaf students that are located in Morganton and the surrounding area. A local foundation decided that there needed to be housing for deaf people, because deaf people who have graduated, they've worked their life in furniture, textiles, or any industry, and they retired, they don't have a social atmosphere like hearing people have, and there's not very many opportunities for those. So a local foundation was formed, and they are building, right, even as we speak, a residence for senior deaf and blind individuals. Very few states have such a facility. 21 apartments and housing units are being developed, almost finished now, and I understand almost every one of them has been reserved. So that'll be a very special place for the senior deaf and blind people to have recreation, to have activities for them. Eventually, we hope they'll have their own community center located within 3 or 4 residential buildings. So they can have their own activities. Not that we don't want them to mingle with the rest of the public, but you know, it's a very special group, and it's a very special thing for Morganton.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and I think everybody watching is going to come away knowing a little bit more about who Mayor Thompson is.
Well, in closing, I'd like to say we've got a great city, we've got a great staff. I can't imagine living anywhere else, and I think if people really stop and think about what all Morganton has to offer, you know, our population should double over the next 2 or 3 years if they really found out everything that Morganton has to offer. So I welcome comments, and just hope if you have concerns, bring them to City Council. If you have praise, give it to the staff, but we have a great staff and a great city to live in.
Thank you.